10 Most Haunted Cities in the World. Number 10 is Estes Park, Colorado. Estes Park, Colorado, seems like nothing unique from the start sight. However, in the event that you actually plan to visit, don't remain in one of the city's innumerable frequented lodgings. Aside from the Baldpate Inn, which is said to house the fandoms of its originators, Estes Park's most well-known frequented inn is the Stanley Hotel. An excellent inn with a perspective on the Rocky Mountains, it assisted with rousing Stephen King's epic, The Shining. When King visited the inn, he revealed seeing spooky youngsters and a gathering in the assembly hall highlighting supernatural guests. The Stanley was established in 1909 and was Colorado's first lodging with power. During a tempest in 1911, the lights went out, and a housemaid was shipped off to light the gas lights. A gas spill caused a gigantic blast when she ventured into room 217. The lady endured and kept on working at the Stanley until her demise. She is presently said to frequent the lodging. She purportedly overlaps guests' garments and stacks them away. Number 9 is Prague, Czech Republic. The city of Prague is regularly viewed as perhaps the most lovely in Europe. Aside from a lovely design and a rich history, Prague additionally has its own assortment of legends and apparitions. One of Prague's most well-known fandoms is the Mad Barber, a lost soul sentenced to walk the roads around evening time. He lost his significant other and went distraught with sadness. He cut at bystanders with his razor and was pounded the life out of by soldiers. The begging skeleton, probably the most amicable apparition, attempts to ask cash from lushes. He was said to have been an excellent and tall, however poor, youngster. A clinical educator inquired as to whether he would sell his skeleton. The youngster concurred yet kicked the bucket soon after in a bar brawl. His skeleton actually meanders the roads of Prague, attempting to gather enough cash to at last get himself free. Number 8 is Dublin, Ireland. Dublin is another old city in which secrets and creepy spots flourish. Not exclusively is Connolly Station supposedly frequented by a ghost, yet Dublin has the acclaimed Hellfire Club too. Initially planned as a chasing lodge for the rich, bits of gossip about dark masses and creature forfeits before long spread. The skeleton of a smaller person was likewise found in a shallow grave simply outside the club. Kavanagh's pub, otherwise known as Gravediggers, only close to Glen Evans Cemetery, is visited by the apparition of an old man of his word in tweed, who takes his beverages at the bar and afterward evaporates. He is supposed to be a previous undertaker. In the tomb of St. Michan's Church, bodies have been safeguarded for more than 800 years. Caskets are stacked everywhere, and the appendages of the dead substitute peculiar points. Guests frequently report murmurs, voices, and cold hands getting them. Number 7 is Savannah, Georgia. Savannah has been classified the city based upon its deed. Houses and squares have been worked over mass graves from the Revolutionary War. It's to be expected, at that point, that the city has incalculable frequented locations. The Lucas Theatre opened in 1921, shut in 1976, subsequent to indicating The Exorcist, and resumed in 2001. During the reclamation, unexplainable events were noted by the laborers. Commendation would be heard, and apparatuses disappeared. The Colonial Park Cemetery, opened in 1750, is supposed to be a normal site of voodoo ceremonies. Visiting grievers discovered leftovers from the functions before the graveyard started being shut around evening time. Number 6 is Athens, Ohio. The Athens Lunatic Asylum was implicit 1874 and was otherwise called the Ridges. Patients were treated with ice water showers, electric stuns, and lobotomies. Notwithstanding the intellectually sick, the office housed the older and defiant young people. The haven additionally includes 2 frequented graveyards. One of the burial grounds tombstones structure a circle which was purportedly utilized by witches to play out their rites. One of the fandoms said to frequent the Ridges is Margaret Schilling, a patient who strangely vanished in 1978. Her body was discovered a month later, and the diagram of where she lay was stained into the ground. After it was eliminated, Margaret's shape returned again and again. If you think a spooky shelter and 2 frequented burial grounds are sufficient to make Athens, Ohio, A spooky city, you're mixed up. The town's graveyards structure a pentagram. The college is supposed to be based on top of a Native American cemetery, and fandom towns like Mount Nebo are all over the place. Number 5 is Rome, Italy. Rome has many apparition stories, and it's no big surprise why. The entire city sits on mausoleums, and numerous frightful things have occurred there, similar to the execution of Beatrice Cenci. Beatrice was 22 years of age when she was detained in Castel Sant'Angelo for murdering her injurious spouse and later executed. It is said that her phantom strolls Sant'Angelo Bridge each year on September 11, with her head under her arm. There are numerous frightening spots in Rome to visit, however none of them are creepier than the Museum and Crypt of the Capuchins. The skeletons of in excess of 400 priests beautify this tomb. Crystal fixtures are made out of leg and arm bones, and skulls are installed in the dividers. A sign there uses, "What you are we used to be, what we are you will turn into." Number 4 is Paris, France. Paris is well known for its sepulchres, yet it has a lot more dreadful spots. In Le Musée des Vampires, you can visit the world's just genuine vampire tracker and his finds. Or then again you can dare to Rue Chanoines to visit the apparition of the one who was the motivation for Sweeney Todd. He was a nearby hairstylist who executed his casualties, heated up their bodies, lastly served their meat in patties. The Eiffel Tower is said to contain the phantom of a little youngster who had wanted to say a final farewell to her beau the exact night he planned to propose to her. He did as such on top of the pinnacle, and she declined. He took steps to push her from the pinnacle, however she didn't trust him and chuckled. So he pushed her. Supposedly, her giggling can be heard, and her spooky figure can be seen now and again. Number 3 is Edinburgh, Scotland. The capital of Scotland has a long and horrifying history. Look no farther than the South Bridge vaults. And here in the 18th century, the vaults were intended to house bars and shoemakers. Yet after flood slaughtered numerous helpless spirits in 1975, they were relinquished. The vault's state failed to remember until vagrancy turned into a wrongdoing deserving of death. The poor went into the vaults, an unlawful business before long spread into, including a few houses of ill repute. The scandalous body snatchers Burke and Hare apparently chased their casualties in the vaults and offered their cadavers to clinical schools. Paranormal movement has gotten an almost everyday event in Edinburgh Castle. The staff has gotten acquainted with hearing music, strides, and voices. Another spooky spot is Greyfriars Kirkyard. Numerous acclaimed individuals have been let go here, and a piece of the burial ground is evidently spooky by a fandom. Guests walking around the graveyard have left with wounds, scratches, and cuts. Number 2 is London, England. London has the standing of being perhaps the most spooky capitals on the planet and highlights innumerable fandom stories. For instance, in 1907, a man was strolling along the London Wall when a hand unexpectedly loosened up of the divider and hindered his section. Stunned, he dismissed for a couple of moments. And when he set out to look once more, he saw a man in dim garments who strolled straightforwardly into the divider and disappeared. Another conspicuous fandom is the Highgate Vampire. The Highgate Cemetery was surrendered during the 1960s and left trot. And now is the ideal time. It was the most in vogue spot to be covered, and Victorian families attempted to outshine each other with expound tombstones and graves. A few reports of spooky experiences exist. Huge numbers of them concerning the Highgate Vampire. How might you respond on the off chance that you were strolling down a dim road along the edge of the burial ground and witnessed a dim, tall shape with sparkling red eyes behind the entryways? Enough individuals detailed such an experience that a vampire chase happened during the 1970s. It wasn't fruitful. Number 1 is New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans is quite possibly the most spooky urban community on the planet. Established in 1718, it has seen all-around gore. It's presumably the lone spot on the planet where supposedly spooky house is in reality more costly than a typical one. New Orleans is the city of voodoo, and voodoo sovereign Marie Laveau rests in St. Louis Cemetery, the most spooky graveyard on the planet. She is said to meander the burial ground on St. John's Eve, June 23. Ghosts of yellow fever casualties and fallen Civil War troopers have been accounted for many occasions at the cemetery. The place of Madame Delphine Lalaurie in the celebrated frequented chateau in the French Quarter. After fire demolished pieces of the house, a dungeon was found in the storage room. Madame Lalaurie tormented slaves, cut them open alive, investigated them, and eliminated body parts. Purportedly, the apparitions of the Slavs actually frequent the manor.